Hey guys, this is my first time posting here, so here goes. This event happened to me this spring 2015. So I'm a young adult male living in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I joined a fairly popular BDSM website mid-January and was instantly drawn into the community. For those of you who don't know, BDSM is a variety of erotic practices involving bondage, dominance, submission, and masochism. Think 50 Shades of Grey if that helps. The community welcomes all kinks and fetishes alike, and everyone I've ever met from that site have been very welcoming and friendly, except for one. It all started with me coming across her profile. She was a gorgeous woman, very fit with long legs and firm breasts. She was an older woman, but I was into that. I started by browsing her collection of photos. Mostly fairly vanilla images of her sitting at a dining room table drinking a glass of wine and smiling at the camera. Real classy, which just urged me forward. I went ahead and messaged her. I wrote the usual greetings and offered to chat and get to know each other. She replied almost instantly. She greeted me as sir, given the role I take. We continued to message back and forth for a week or two. She explained to me that she wanted me to be her master since her last master died in a car accident. This was odd to me, but unfortunate accidents can happen to anyone, right? She continued giving me details of what she wanted me to do to her, and I very much obliged. The next couple days we kept trying to meet up for coffee, but unfortunately she had to cancel last minute each time. Eventually I began getting very eager, as all the kinky discussions have gotten me worked up. So late one night she messages me inviting me over to her place. She explained to me that she doesn't work in the morning, so we can be up all night having our fun. While being so worked up and lacking the necessary blood flow into my brain to make an educated decision, I agreed and asked for her address. She messaged me an address along with a phone number she said was her home line, and I got ready to head out. So I got into my car and plugged the address into my GPS. This is where I noticed she lived in Hamilton, which is about 45 minutes away from Toronto. It's currently 1 a.m. but this didn't bother me, as I drove to Hamilton quite often, and considering I'd be spending the night I could just leave in the morning. 45 minutes later I found myself passing Hamilton. Okay, so it's a little further than that, no big deal. But then I reached a stretch of highway void of street lights. This is where I start to get concerned, as I only had my own headlights lighting my way. Suddenly, my GPS chimed in with the female voice indicating my exit. It was coming up on the right, and I feared driving into the darkness off the mild comfort of the highway. The exit took me into a long dark stretch of country road. My red lights starting going off as I passed silhouettes of farmhouses and forestry. A good distance between each of them. My GPS chimed again, indicating that my destination was coming up on my left, but as I approached the location it was not even close to what I expected. It was a small church house with one yellow street light illuminating the dirt lot in front of it. I pulled into the lot and took a closer look, with my vehicle's headlights pointing at the building. The windows and door were boarded up indefinitely, not recently, as the wood seemed weather-worn. My blood began to run cold as I made sure my doors were locked and my windows rolled up. The full tank of gas gave me some kind of comfort in the situation. I figured she possibly made an error in typing out her address and called the number she gave me. Error noise. The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service. Okay, at this point I'm ready to turn and leave until I notice my phone alerting me that I have an email. It was a message from her. Hey, I see you're here. It's not the church. My place is the small house behind the church. All I could do is replay all the horror movies I've seen throughout my life, and I just couldn't believe I could possibly be living one out in real life. However, a small jolt of curiosity persuaded me forward, even if just to take a look at this house. There was a small path beside the church and I slowly pulled up into it. As I crept forward in my car, a small little farmhouse poked itself out of the trees at the top of the hill. At this point I was certain I'm not going in there. I've made the decision in my head that my own survival took precedency over my need for sex. I was about to reverse out of there until I saw the upstairs balcony door open. A hooded figure stepped out. I couldn't see their face, but I could tell by the posture and shape that it was a man. Despite the darkness of his facial features, I could feel he was looking directly at me. He stood there for about 30 seconds before he motioned his head in a way I recognized as the universal signal for "look behind you." Just then I felt the metal handle on the outside of my driver door being tugged at. I quickly turned my head in that direction to see the woman from the profile photos, hunched over and pressing her face up against the window. My heart leaped out of my chest as I stared at her horrifying smile. The best way I can describe her expression would be any creepy cartoon image of the Joker you've ever seen. It was undoubtedly her behind that insane grin, only much older. She whispered through the glass. "Open the door, baby." I was frozen in my seat, unsure of how to respond or what to do next, so I just sat there continuing to stare at her like an idiot. Her face then quickly fell into an angry, malicious expression as she continued to violently jiggle at the door handle. She then yelled at the top of her lungs, "Open the door now." This knocked me into panic mode and I pressed my foot to the gas. My car, set to reverse, began to pull out of the pathway backwards. The woman tried holding on to the door handle only to let go shortly after being dragged off her feet. I flew down the dark road back towards the highway, almost triple the speed limit just in case they had a car themselves and decided to chase me. I called a friend of mine who I also met on the same website. She lived in Hamilton and insisted I come stay the night at her place. When I got there, she poured me a cold glass of Coke Zero as I explained to her what happened. She told me that she read an article in the local paper over a week ago regarding an older couple luring men out to their farm. I stopped her right there as I didn't want to be freaked out even more than I currently was. So crazy, potential murderous woman. Let's never meet. Please, subscribe.